At the tender age of just 13, soulful vocalist Jaukeem Fortson might not be quite old enough to roll with Snoop Dogg's mature hip-hop classic, Gin and Juice. Fortson is a member of the soulful music collective. Before he stunned the coaches of The Voice with an incredible rendition of Adele's Easy on Me during the blind audition, he joked. But he then went on to say, "I could do some apple juice." As the youngest artist on season 26 of The Voice, the Elberton, Georgia native stunned all the coaches, earning an enviable free chair turn while leaving Gwen Stefani, the lone holdout, with major regret, once Stefani had spun around to find Adele's powerful sound booming out from such a youthful, energetic source. The performance of Easy on Me by Adele that Jaukeem Fortson gave during the blind auditions for the 26th season of The Voice can be viewed here. Coach Reba McEntire exclaimed, "My gosh, you blew my socks off today." She admitted that she had a feeling that Fortson was gonna be around for a while in the competition. "You blew my socks off today." In addition to hitting the notes, he possessed the soul and the meaning that was behind it. "I believe that we are going to have a wonderful time together." After earning Jaukeem's favor as the coach he will be riding with throughout his adventure in season 26, the Queen of Country could boast about being together with Jaukeem. However, this does not mean that the other individuals did not make an effort to win Fortson's favor. The confession that Michael Bublé made after pressing his large red button just a few seconds into Jaukeem's blind audition was, "I couldn't turn fast enough." As the spotlight began to lower, the crowd took a moment to hold their breath in hushed suspense. The atmosphere in the room was palpable with anticipation. There was something about this specific moment that seemed different. There was something wonderful in the air. The blind auditions on The Voice had previously demonstrated amazing talent, but there was something other about this particular moment. Jaukeem Fortson, a little lad of 13 years old, was about to deliver a performance that would take everyone by surprise and leave them in a state of awe. He was standing in the center of the stage. The air was filled with Jaukeem's voice as the first notes of Adele's powerful ballad, Easy on Me, reverberated across the auditorium. Despite his young age, his voice was impressively smooth, well-controlled, and full of emotion. His delivery was nothing short of stunning. It seemed as though Jaukeem's remarkable vocal powers were a great match for the song, which was about love, regret, and healing. It wasn't simply his vocal range that was impressive, it was also the maturity in his delivery that seemed to be above his years. The song was not only being sung by him, he was actually living it. The crowd was immediately riveted by his voice, which resounded with a depth that would have been astonishing even for a much older vocalist. His voice grabbed the audience immediately. The high notes and emotional swells of the song were deftly maneuvered by Jaukeem, whose voice could soar in 1 minute and then pull back with a heartbreaking vulnerability in the next. He has an instinctive knowledge of dynamics and phrasing, which is something that many more experienced musicians take years to acquire. The most remarkable thing, however, was the way in which Jaukeem seemed to take the entire room to a different location with each piece of music that he played. It was not enough for him to simply strike the appropriate notes. It was also important that he was able to communicate emotion through his musical performance. His eyes were closed, and it appeared as though he had shut out the world around him in order to concentrate solely on the music, artistry in its purest form. Jaukeem appeared to be unconscious of the impact that his performance was having on the coaches, despite the fact that he possessed an innate and undeveloped skill. None of the 4 seats had turned as he poured himself into the song, exposing his emotions with each phrase. He was completely immersed in the music. There was a definite sense of tension in the room. As the last chorus drew near, Jaukeem's voice grew more powerful and passionate, highlighting the intensity of the performance. The culmination of his performance had arrived, and he gave everything he had. And then, in an instant, the silence was broken by the distinct sound of a chair turning around in its seat. Michael Bublé is the host of the first chair turn. The initial response from the coach was made by Michael Bublé. The legendary crooner, who is renowned for his silky voice and his desire to appeal to classical music, was immediately impressed with Jaukeem's talent. An expression of unadulterated admiration appeared on Michael's face as his chair rotated around them. A smile that conveyed both appreciation and admiration appeared on his face as he leaned forward. Michael exclaimed, "Wow, wow, wow," as he briefly got up and clapped his hands in rhythm. His voice was filled with pleasure as he spoke. "Kid, you have this right. You have a remarkable voice, and the way you brought emotion to the performance, as well as the way you controlled every note. I am able to tell that you have the capacity to do wonderful things with your voice because you have made this song your own." When Jaukeem opened his eyes, he was still engrossed in the intensity of his performance. He noticed that Michael Bublé's chair had been turned. He was having a hard time believing it. Having such a great figure in the world of music acknowledge his brilliance was a moment that he would hold in his memory for the rest of his life. Michael proceeded by saying, "You have the tone, the phrasing, and that emotional maturity right there. We are here to assist you in developing that. I believe that you possess a unique talent, and I would be delighted to assist you in leaving your mark on the world." The beat of Jaukeem's heart quickened. The realization of his dream had just occurred. On the other hand, there was going to be more. Next in line, Snoop Dogg, the second chair turn. The moment that everyone had been waiting for finally arrived, and the audience's enthusiasm continued to build. A burst of applause broke out from the crowd when Snoop Dogg's chair began to rotate around him. The iconic rapper, who is well known for his easygoing manner and seamless flow, responded with a different feel than he normally would have. Snoop reclined back and snapped his fingers to the pace of the music, clearly enjoying the performance in his own unique style. Instead of getting out of his seat and offering formal plaudits, Snoop had a more relaxed expression. It was Snoop's typical silky demeanor that he used to say, "You got something real special," and his voice was nearly seductive. "It's clear to me that you have the heart, the soul, and everything else. You brought a whole new vibe to that song, and I'm really digging what you brought to the table. We are talking about genuine artistic talent right now." Snoop was obviously impressed by Jaukeem's genuineness, as seen by the fact that his comments were restrained but had a significant impact. He went on to say, "I am able to instruct you on how to remain authentic to who you are, how to take that energy and bring something new to the table. I'm looking for musicians who have genuine souls, and you have an abundance of them." As Jaukeem came to terms with the gravity of what had just transpired, his face lighted up with excitement. Michael Bublé and Snoop Dogg, two musicians who were utterly different from one another and who approached music in very different ways, had both recognized his potential. He experienced a sensation of the universe opening up in front of him, and he felt as though his dreams were taking flight. Reba McEntire is the third occupant of the chair. There were many others who were impressed by Jaukeem, and it wasn't just the pop and rap legends. The legendary country singer Reba McEntire was the one who answered the call for the third chair. Reba, who is not only well known for her powerful vocals, but also for her outstanding stage presence, turned around and gave a standing ovation while wearing a broad smile. "My goodness, Jaukeem, you are something else," Reba replied, her tone soothing and sincere. "You are truly remarkable. For the entirety of my life, I have witnessed a great number of performances, but what you did right now was truly remarkable. You took that tune and made it your own, which is something that every accomplished musician does. You have dominance, but you also have a strong sense of emotion. You possess the kind of voice that not only seizes you by the heart, but also refuses to let go of it." Despite the fact that Reba's remarks were full of praise, she was so excited that she could not restrain herself. "It would be a pleasure for me to collaborate with you, to enable you to develop even further as an artist, and to teach you the ropes of this field. Kid, you have a place in this world, and I want to be there to assist you in getting to that position." After Reba had finished speaking, there was a contagious hum of enthusiasm in the room. One of the coaches did not speak, despite the fact that the others had turned their chairs. No chair turn, as Gwen Stefani puts it. Gwen Stefani, the final coach who had her chair facing front, was unable to turn around despite the fact that she had a great deal of admiration for Jaukeem's abilities. She looked at him with wide eyes, completely awestruck by the show he had just given. despite the fact that she was unable to train Jaukeem at this time. Gwen, who is well known for her keen intuition and profound admiration for anything that is one of a kind, felt that Jaukeem was destined for greatness. When the ovation subsided, Gwen proceeded to speak, her tone being kind and replete with reverence. "Jaukeem, you are very remarkable. There is something about you that sets you apart from others, and I can see the potential that you possess. Anyone you decide to be with is going to be really fortunate to have you." The audience applauded, and Jaukeem, who was awestruck by the tremendous acknowledgement from the coaches, was left to make a decision that would have a significant impact. All three of these legendary people in the world of music, Michael Bublé, Snoop Dogg, and Reba McEntire, had fought for the opportunity to collaborate with him. The encouragement that Gwen provided, despite the fact that her chair was not turned, served to remind him that his journey had only just begun. As Jaukeem stood straight and took a deep breath, he prepared himself to select the coach who would assist him in navigating this once-in-a-lifetime chance. The eyes of the world were on him, and he was prepared to move forward with the next step in achieving his goals. A future that had just started to take shape. The blind audition that Jaukeem Fortson had just completed had just been the defining moment of his career. He turned the chairs of three renowned coaches, Michael Bublé, Snoop Dogg, and Reba McEntire, each of whom brought their own distinctive style to the table. His incredible performance of "Easy on Me" had turned the chairs of these three coaches. Jaukeem was about to go on a journey that would have a significant impact on his future, and the words of support that Gwen Stefani provided only served to solidify this fact. It had just been revealed to the world that Jaukeem was on the verge of becoming a superstar, and his voice was going to be heard for a very long time to come. There was no question in anyone's mind that this young artist was well on his way to a brilliant future, regardless of who be selected.